in hospitality, you're always looking for innovation. You're always looking to be ahead of the curve versus be behind the curve. And unfortunately, in a situation like this, I was just flying back in basically the end of January from hiring exchange students for the summer season in Denali, when a lot of this COVID-19 crisis has just began in the media coming out of information in China. And when I was flying back, I noticed a significant change in the airports. And I immediately called my business partner. I said, I'm not sure how big this is going to be, but I've never seen anything like it flying internationally, and we better keep an eye on it. So we started watching this and started thinking about how is this going to affect us, especially in hospitality, not just for the local community, but we were depending on the influx of the tourism for the summer. So before a decision was being made, one of the advice I would give people is innovation is what's going to push us through this. And one of the things in being ahead of the curve, and one of the things that we did immediately is reach out to our insurance companies. And we, instead of worrying about claims for business loss, what we did is we said to them, is it possible for us to insure our management team and their vehicles and create our own delivery service? And we immediately created our own delivery service with our management team. And we had a meeting with the managers, and we basically sat down in a room with our entire management crew. And remember, many managers for our Denali properties were already arriving in Alaska that were supposed to be heading up north to those properties. And we said, we're about to face an unknown. And instead of laying everyone off, we would like to talk in the group and say, hey, as a whole, what if we take everyone takes a reduction? And then we had offered positions as drivers where they would basically accept hourly wages, significantly lower than they were doing, but they would accept the tips. And this is all helping us get back on our feet and just creating a new program. And we were able to basically start up a delivery service with just our management team, where there's a $5 fee, but that fee actually goes directly to the actual driver to offset the cost of the vehicle maintenance and everything else associated.
Yeah.
So we were able to, out the gate, ramp up a delivery service literally overnight once we were mandated to close.
Yeah.
That gave us just enough to kind of keep the things moving, because one of the things that people didn't think about was the sheer amount of inventory that was being brought in. We were shut down on Monday afternoon, but the next day was actually St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
So the sheer amount of product that was brought into the building, we're first looking to make sure that didn't go bad, because you're dealing with products that expire very quickly. So what we did immediately is started a extensive door-to-door marketing program. We created flyers and again hired staff that was, minimum wage staff that were our tips employees, and all offer them positions working 8-hour shifts that actually could canvass neighborhoods and hand out delivery cards expressing how to order food, our menus, our online access. And we did that within less than 72 hours once the notice was given. And we saw an immediate spike in delivery orders from the areas that we canvassed. And again, as a business owner, instead of hiring a third party or paying the fee to the U.S. Postal Office, right, I wanted to get money to the people that we were our own staff, as long as we could.
Yeah.
So those are two things right away. And being positive, I agree with you. I grew up in a medical family. My father was a surgeon and grandfather was a surgeon. And one of the things that they would always talk about is 1/3 of all illnesses are cured with happiness. And one of the comments that we talked about on a daily basis is making sure that everybody on our staff is happy. We do a check-in about how are they feeling, how are they doing. And we have basically a sign-up sheet that if somebody's willing to give up a shift to somebody else that they can afford it, they basically are able to hand off their shifts, their work shifts, to say, hey, maybe somebody with a family or kids, they need the shift, that the unemployment is not enough or is not covering enough, or they get cash reserves. So we create a very happy network where people inside our own business are helping each other decide who needs what faster than we can respond as an owner.
I love that. That's really positive.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because right now, as an owner of the company, I'm struggling how to make sure that the business is actually going to stay in business whenever this ends. And it's very difficult to get onto the level where I'm making sure that I'm giving the attention to everybody that needs their attention. And so basically they're in a way self-policing each other and handing off the responsibility to say, hey, I worked on Monday. I worked 20 hours this week. Maybe I'll give the other 20 to this guy that needs it. And they're cross-training each other to make sure that the system can continue moving. And then a huge group of the employees came together and said, wait a second, I'm making $18 an hour and that person's making $12 and that person's making this. What if we all get the same rate? It's a little lower for some, but it's a little more for some others, but at least we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And it was voted upon.
It's that camaraderie, right?
Exactly. And the camaraderie that nobody is benefiting more than somebody else has created this camaraderie, which actually helps people. And, just getting out of the house and actually having a safe environment and repeating that pattern is bringing a lot of happiness. And today, one of the employees said to me, you know what, I just like the fact that I just can get out of the house. And we have a very strict rule about when you come there, you have to repeat the same pattern. You need to know who you've talked to or who you've been in touch with. Right. We have, when they come to work, sanitation, the way we structure the sanitation, that if you're not working, you're not on a schedule, you can't even come into any specific areas. So the camaraderie and the happiness that they're policing themselves in a way to make sure that each person is taken care of has been a significant help. And then on top of it, one of the things that we were considered right away as a business is actually the facilities that we currently have.
Right.
We, as an owner, I realized that this isn't going to change tomorrow. And not only is it not going to change, but it's also potentially going to change the way people go out in the future.
Right.
And one of the things we did is to be a community-based business. People talk about community, how they can do it. But really what we notice is people are really fighting to get any revenue. And essentially they're slashing prices. They're slashing and creating these discounts, which we're all doing. But there's only a finite amount of meals that you can deliver at whole in the restaurant industry. A lot of the business that we require in the restaurant business was based on an experience mod. And so one of the things we said, well, how do we change the business model to actually make sure that we're helping those people in need? And if we've got product that is going to go bad, wholesalers must have the same product that they have to move. And so we basically created a project called Alaskans for Alaskans, A for A.
Okay.
So what we do is we ask employees that would come in to work, and most of them, it's a lower rate just to make sure that we can cover the payroll. And they come in, we get some donations or some discounts from food service suppliers, and we created menus that basically, if you're unemployed or if you're in the service and medical field or any support thereof, from the police force to the fire department, we will actually prepare the meals. We'll deliver to those locations for free. And if you have been unemployed in any industry, basically we provide a $5 meal for you.
Wow.
And the goal is to get the meal. We would love to give it for free, but unfortunately, right now, I can't. I've been asking so much of our staff. We have to make sure that their needs are getting taken care of. And a lot of the stuff we're actually still buying. It's not all being donated.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is just cover our cost And if we get significant donations this week, we are able to deliver hundreds of meals for free because of donations that we received.
Wow.
We are able to lower the cost at $3 next week for very large orders that just came in today. And today we were just contacted by the Beans Cafe to start supplying meals to the 500 homeless in the Sullivan Arena for lunchtime starting on Friday afternoon. So what we did is we wanted to make sure that people know that I have a trained staff.
Yeah.
We have the equipment and the facility, and that we can on demand produce high quality food safely for hundreds, if not thousands of people. And that is how our business has evolved. And those people that are actually buying our a la carte menu items are actually helping these programs, because that is offsetting the cost to me as a business person in the community.
So
yeah,
I heard a lot of things. I heard a lot of, looking at, it sounds, if I could sum up a piece of it, it sounds
sure.
very much like using your assets that you had, being able to look at them in a totally different way. How can we meet the need of what's here, what's happening right now, which is like evolving daily, right? Which is pretty much
That's correct.
Which is what you addressed. Looking to the future, that things might be different anyway, when we get through this, and really just being there for the community. So multiple positive steps, which is awesome.
You're correct. In addition, last week we actually did I travel a lot, especially with hiring international students for the summertime. And we were looking at cultures around the world and what do they do different than ours? And one of the concepts my business partner, Jason Motika, and myself, we were talking about was, I've been to Japan a numerous amount of times. And we talked about, most of these facilities, you don't even touch the door when you enter. Everything's automatic in the bathrooms. And last week, we actually ordered all automatic flushers for the urinals, for the toilets, automatic faucets for the hand sinks, automatic soap dispensers for the hand sinks. All these are going to be installed hopefully before we can get reopened.
Yeah.
And so therefore, not only are we trying to deal with something today, we're still looking for the future, how to make the environment a safer environment for people to go out and feel more comfortable when they go out. Because the questions that people are going to say is, people keep asking, when is this going to end? And the answer is, it may never end. It may just evolve. And that's the way it looks like. It's just evolving every day.
Yeah.
So to me, one of the things is on the business side of it is that we used to give discounts for menu items for staff when they worked. And now if you work, they get a meal included with their day. So they're getting a complimentary meal when they come to work. At the end of their shift, if they're over 21, we manufacture beer. They allow them, if they want to have 2 beers at the end of the meal. And this camaraderie of being part of a family now in the business is even greater because we're making sure that there's no cost to them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we did in business, that we first started slashing prices and then thought to ourselves, everybody's doing it. And we decided that what we started doing is bundling things together. So this last weekend, when we heard it's going to be extended 2 more weeks, we have a mini keg that has 5 liters in it. It's like about 10 craft beers. And we decided to essentially, if you bought this, that essentially you got a free pizza and a salad incorporated into the same price. And it took off great because it was and it like the first night was like over 50 orders came in with very little marketing. But we're trying to not only make sure that the staff is happy, we want people to be happy, right?
Right.
And to me, it's still our name in the community, and I've seen a lot of success across the board, across the country. I've been looking at what other people are doing, but the real advice is that innovation is going to help solve all these challenges. And one of the things to me is we have evolved the business based on its facility and the capabilities that we currently have to help people that are in need that don't have the money to go out and dine every day. And then on a daily basis, we keep assessing what our menu is and how do we evolve that menu to make it more accessible to people. In the delivery service that we brought our own staff in for, essentially insured them and use their own vehicles, that has really changed the game for us as a business. And I would recommend that if other businesses were able to do that, but we just have a large staff that allowed us to do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Are you hopeful for the future for something different? Do you kind of visualize it as like a new normal? I mean, that's kind of what I heard you say is more just like things are just evolving.
You know, people, I just got off a phone call just before this with another gentleman that he owns a lot of real estate. He's older. He's very concerned. And I just told him, I said, this is the new normal. And he says, well, how do you explain that? And I said, well, just think about it. There was pre 9/11 and post 9/11, and going to the airport is just a different experience today. And there's young people that go to the airport that know nothing different.
Right.
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 And that becomes what we refer to as the new normal. And unfortunately, these diseases, global travel, pandemics, this is something everybody's warned us about and we're conscious about. And now we just have to change certain things. And the answer is, I'm actually very optimistic, and people may call me an eternally optimistic person, but then again, most entrepreneurs are. Yeah. And I think that the business is definitely going to evolve, and I don't have a crystal ball to say how, but they always talk about youth as the future, and they are going to define what they want this to be. I definitely think that as we work our way through this pandemic, older demographics that come out and dine, I think are going to be reduced.
Yes.
I think there's going to be more sensitivity towards dining in large groups and busier locations. But what we really need to look at is how do we satisfy them with a continued delivery program with high quality food. We're working on that right now. And I think innovation in packaging, delivery techniques, we bought even delivery boxes that are in the vehicles, that are warmed in the vehicles to keep the food hot all the way there, that have been used in pizza delivery for years.
Right.
We're just adapting all these things. And I think that we're just going to change the way hospitality feels. And that new norm is going to be determined by the diners that choose to come out in that first wave and see how that is played out. You know, my concern moving forward is the concept of shared meals or increased disposables or one-time washing or no-touch sinks, like I talked about.
Yeah.
The feel of dining and hospitality in the restaurant business is going to evolve to what I think we've already experienced in other cultures around the world that have done that don't have necessarily the same level of hygiene. So they use more disposables or
right.
Maybe in some cultures with you're not even touching the doors upon entry. They're motion activated. So you're reducing a lot of this touch that's there. But I think that packing thousands of people in locations to dine in the same area is going to change. And that new norm, people are not going to want to, people beget people. And I think there will be a wave of positivity once this gets lifted, and
yes.
people are going to want to go out again, and they're going to really want to enjoy themselves. And if another wave comes in of this coronavirus, hopefully there'll be more information and less fear.
Yes.
Because as I said to one of my managers the other day, and he was very afraid for him and his wife, his young child. And I reassured him and I said, you got to remember something. If we go back into our grandparents that were alive, my grandparents were alive in 1918, right? And you go back there and there was this fear of this influenza. And today you go out with your friend goes, oh, I got a little bit of the flu today. And I said to this employee, I said, by the time your son is 5, 6, 7 years old, maybe you're gonna turn to your son and say, oh, you can go to school today. You barely have a little bit of coronavirus.
Right.
And I said, it's just going to become part of it. And I think it alleviates the fear, because what most people I see that are afraid of is it's not just they can't pay their bills. We're all in the same boat together.
Right.
It's the fear. Am I going to be able to live healthy? Am I going to be able to see tomorrow? And I think that right now people are staying away to find out more information. But as we get back into hospitality, as this thing turns around, which could take months, if not a year or so, once people start going out again, hopefully we'll have more information and they'll feel a little more comfortable. But I do believe that, handing your friend your glass to share your beer might be a thing of the past.
Right.
So those are the things that I see. And so, more individual sampling, more individual plates, less sharing of other food stuffs where people are putting their hands and touching things. Those are things that I think the business is going to evolve into, and that'll be the new norm.
Yeah.
But I'm very positive, because hospitality brings joy. And I always said that, my father was a surgeon, and people were sick. They come to him, they have a problem, and he helps them, and he brings them back life. And we're just giving life and happiness through food service. And it is such an important integral part of every society,
right,
of sharing a meal, that this time now where people eating at home, eventually they're going to want to share that same experience in a meal again with their neighbor and their friends.
Of course.
So I believe the hospitality company is going to bounce back. It's just what I believe, it's going to take a lot longer than what people are thinking. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses in the restaurant industry, we're counting pennies and nickels on a daily basis, and we are dependent on cash flow. And the sad thing that I feel is that there is going to be a tremendous amount of unique businesses that have become the fabric societies that are not going to make it through this first wave of all these closures. They're just not going to be able to get back open.
Right.
But that does not mean that we won't bounce back with new concepts and new ideas. And that's why I think that innovation, it's just going to take a little longer if this closure stays further, because I have friends in the business that said to me last week, hey, David, if this doesn't get lifted, I'm not going to be able to make it another 2 weeks. And I said, well, what do you mean? Like, you're never going to open again? He says, I just don't know if I have enough in me to go back at it. Yeah. And I think that we will see some businesses that just don't want to. We're in a tough industry.
Yeah.
And, we get criticized every day for delays in food coming out or things like that. And I'm hoping that people have a better understanding about how important hospitality is to a community, how important that restaurant and sharing experience is, and that I hope the support comes back out when places open, and we're not forced to continually lower, discount, and actually kind of hurt each other at something right now, because I see a lot of people looking at another business and said, oh, what did they do? And what did they do? And there's a lot of copying that's going on. And each one of us needs to innovate in our own ways, just like we've created menus in our own ways, and we've created names and marketing in our own ways. And that we're just creating a new platform until we get open. But I'm very positive that as this COVID-19 goes through the United States and the world, there's going to build up immunities, and unfortunately, people will pass away from this illness at an alarming rate. But as the immunity gets built up, business in the world is going to go back. Just the new norm is just going to change, no different than we did pre and post 9/11. There was issues. We came together. We created systems. We go to the airport. It's not the greatest experience, right? But at the same time, flying is extremely the safest mode of transportation.
Yeah.
And eventually, you know what's going to happen. People want to dine out. They're going to want to go on a vacation. And that risk versus reward is going to find a new balance in the world. And people are going to get back at it. I mean, think about society. This is one little blip on the map. And as I say, this is our younger, like for a younger generation, this is our war, right?
Yeah.
And what we explain and what we do and how we react is going to define us as a generation for the future generation. Do you agree?
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah, and I also think that the businesses that really are creative in finding ways to take care of their staff, like you are, and doing. I mean, you know, you can only do so much, but you're doing everything you can do. That will define also long term. Just, I think that will give you a tremendous amount of social grace and positivity, because like anybody who's working towards a solution right now, like you doing what you're doing is, even though we're in totally different industries, is helping me over here, and me being positive and me doing what I'm doing is helping that, because we're all, if we work towards positive solutions and we keep things going and we keep people employed, then there's more money to spend. There's, you know, people start working towards positives. But if we all kind of give up, that's not going to help anything. So, I
mean, you know, we started this past Friday, we started free Fridays for employees. So all employees, working or non-working, if they're unemployed, we had to lay them off. On Friday, they can come in, they can pick up a free meal.
Wow.
And so every Friday going into the weekend, because one thing that I saw was people are like, what day is it? What day is it? Right. And I said, man, we got to get people back into that feeling that weekends are something to look forward to, right? And so we started this for our staff, is like this free Friday meal. So, you know, I know you can't have that many people in the building, but at least they can all talk via social media or something. And then they come through and they order their meal and they go out and they can kind of have a shared experience, but in their own space.
Yeah.
And that was one way to keep people happy, because you can't survive a for-profit industry with giving everything away for free. It's just not possible. And people are smart enough to realize that.
No, honestly, staying in business and doing what you can to stay in business is a positive. Like, that is good for everybody.
Yeah. And the thing to me that, maybe it's just, I grew up in a very religious family, and I feel my call to order today is to help. And it's not just helping our people, but I cook and I give life through food, right? And obviously I love beer because I make beer, right? Manufacture beer. And alcohol can be viewed very positively when it's not abused. Yeah. And to me, I'm just happy to give these things. And sometimes when I look out there, people always look at what everybody else is doing. And to me, I'm a big fan of Henry Ford and a lot of stuff that he's done. And I have this little sticker that says, the competitor to be feared is one who never bothers about you at all, but goes on making his own business better all the time. And I love this quote. And I told Jason, I said, Jason, it may not make sense, but first of all, how much cash do we have on hand? Number one, right? What is the bare minimum we can do to keep as many people employed as possible? And how do we help the community in addition? And so that's basically everything I went over today, is how we tiered our decision making. We made it very quickly. Yeah. We employed our own staff to drive and make deliveries. We employed our own staff to hand out brochures. We engaged our own staff to take, it doesn't cost anything to reshare a post of a special.
Right.
Or to reshare something like that. And so we engage all of our employees, whether they're currently working or been laid off, to help reshare and repost, because when we get back open, it's going to strengthen our business and our community, right? We offer discounted meals, if not free meals. We have a packaged liquor store here that we basically took all the inventory, put it in, and basically lowered every margin below anything that was out there, just as a bonus if somebody came in and wanted to buy some alcohol with their meal. We've been packaging meals together to lower the rate. And we've got a whole new series. We actually, believe it or not, have new menu items coming out this week entire 22 different items that are going to be coming out. You would think it would be the opposite, right? We're expanding on certain sections of the menu rather than diminishing it. Everyone's saying, go smaller, go smaller. We've taken certain things off, but certain areas we're expanding on to make sure that there's more diversity on the menu. And then, like you said, we positioned ourselves as a facility to help because I have the machines. I have a commissary kitchen downstairs. And today, Lisa called me, who I know from Beans Cafe, and she's like, David, we send 30 meals a day to them every day just for their staff.
Right.
And she says, can you make me 500 meals? And I said, Lisa, I can make you 2,000 meals a day if you wanted, right? And so we're starting to support now Beans Cafe. And so that means everybody that buys something from our menu, that picks it up or takes it to go, they don't realize yet, but they're actually helping feed the people that are in the most need of our help right now. And to me, if you want to define a community, it's not how much money you make, right? It's how you help the people that are most in need. Yeah. And to me, if you want to ask what people can do, if everybody chose to place an order once a day, it doesn't have to be at the same restaurant, right? And just rotate it through maybe one meal every other day and ordered it from somewhere, and they can do their shopping around to save money and look where the best deal is. But businesses like ours, it's directly being transferred to help people that are the most in need. Every morning, we deliver meals to all the hospitals that we have on a list. We go there, we make food. We have our delivery drivers drop the food off there. Then they go on with their paid deliveries. A lot of these hospitals are calling us and they'll order these $5 meals. And we actually started, we put it on there, not because we wanted to, because we were requested by people. We had actually put on a page where people could donate. Because once we started this Alaska for Alaskan Meals, the funny thing about it was the first order, you cannot make this up. The first order that was placed for 20 meals. So we got to the kitchen. We're like, oh, that's awesome, 20 meals. And then the manager ran over and says, well, actually, no, she paid for 20 meals, but she doesn't want them. She wants us to give them to somebody. We thought, I will never forget that for the rest of my life in the industry. The first order, we even have the lady's name. We asked her if we wanted her to be mentioned, and she said no. So we actually created a button where people can donate a certain dollar amount, and we prepare the meals, and we automatically just deliver them every day. And so in the morning, at 10 in the morning, the chefs come in extra early. We set up this commissary kitchen. They've got a list of to-goes that are already been ordered or paid for by somebody else. And we just make the deliveries automatically. And to me, that has been the most incredible outcry of help from the community. You tell me that does not make, when you talk about eternally optimistic, that is like the greatest thing for me to get that call, right?
Yeah.
And you know what people don't realize is that, like, when they go online and they post something and they say they not only you order it, but if you just follow up with a picture or saying I had this great meal at this business, that is the greatest marketing anybody could do to help any business.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. 100%.
Greatest thing I can. And, you know, one of our staff members went online, had a great day of deliveries, and like she was delivering food and they were giving, you know, she made a lot of tips and they redistributed them between all the other employees that were working that day. And she wrote this beautiful statement online thanking people for ordering, and the response was so positive to her. And to me, that is really something that is helping people help each other.
I love it.
By being positive. You know, because to me, you know, my friend said, he's in Chicago. I'm from Chicago originally. My friend says, hey, why don't we all post a picture of somewhere we went without us in it so we can all travel around the world? I don't know if you saw that on.
No.
Have you seen this yet?
No.
And he sent me the thing because he knows I travel all over the world. And he's like, you got to have thousands of photos. And he said, why don't we start this thing where you just post a picture of somewhere you went in the world and you just name where you went and what year it was, right?
Right.
And you can't be in it. And people can travel the world by just looking at something more positive than concerned if they're going to catch a virus that they cannot see. And I thought it was a great idea. And I said, there's so many people in Alaska. Why don't we just start doing that? We post these positive pictures of places, because every Alaskan travels, right?
Right.
Well, I would say majority of people. And so you think the power of that media right now is overwhelming for people. And to me, posting something positive about a delivery driver, about a food experience, or just a business that is fighting to stay open.
Absolutely.
Just a business that is fighting to stay open. I mean, I told my girlfriend the other day, and she's like, God, you don't look good. And I said, I'm just exhausted because I'm fighting every day, but I'm not going to give up.
No.
And the reality is there's so many businesses out there that are outside of hospitality that are still support, that are still fighting, that people need to recognize. And to me, I think that's one of the most positive things that we can do moving forward. And, these people that are getting sick and people that are dying, it is a very, very, very difficult, sad thing to deal with. So I have an elderly mother that we basically told she cannot leave the house.
Right.
Right. She's 79 years old. She has a blood disorder. If she gets a cold, it takes her 6 to 8 weeks to get over it. She wouldn't have a fighting chance. And just to call her, just to talk to her for 5 minutes, somebody said to me, is the best thing to do order online? And I said, you know what? If you want to call just to talk to somebody, just call us up. We'll answer the phone. We put 3 more phone lines in. We're creating a system that is not going to go away once this is lifted. We're still planning on making deliveries. We're still planning on a better delivery options. We're sitting here studying how food can stay hotter, what package is there. And to me, all this innovation is going to create a better customer experience in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
It will. It absolutely will. Yeah. So I hope that answers some of the questions that are there, because it's got to be a tough time for you too.
Honestly, it's been the opposite. So we have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've expanded, and we've got I can't even explain it to you, but a lot of the clients that we had that were not pushing really hard online have now gone, no, we have to do this now. So it was a bit of a push there. And then
good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a lot of clients outside of Alaska, so around the country, and they're being pretty aggressive. So we're really, really, really blessed. And so our point right now is just to be as helpful as possible. We're offering some free stuff for businesses that even aren't our clients, just trying to help them convert to where they can start selling online. But our e-commerce clients are doing phenomenal. And hand sanitizer. We had a couple clients like dentists that had to pull back, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm just so grateful we were already remote. We were already up on all of those things, so that none of that was a change. And we did tell the staff when we lost the first couple clients, we did tell them that we're committed to keeping everyone. And that was before people started adding services on. But we basically said we're going to do everything we can, and whatever that means, because we're such a tight knit family team. And then how can we be helpful? And so that's what we're working on. It's just, very similar to what you're doing, maybe not as fast of a change for sure. You've had to completely.
Yeah. Oh, trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about the thing about the brewing part of our business. It's it takes around 30 days to have beer ready. So if you're sitting there waiting to see if you can open and you don't make beer, then when you are able to open, you wouldn't have craft beer available when you open.
Wow.
Right. But beer is like milk. It goes bad, and people don't realize that.
You have to time it of how much demand.
You have to time it by the demand, by the style, it's incredible. We just had a meeting with all the brewers this morning, and they told us, they asked me, well, what are we supposed to do? And I said, okay, we are going to rethink beer. We need to start thinking about what we did. We had this program called the Hibernation Series that we did in our Denali location because we're closed in the winters. And I said, we're going to act like it's the hibernation series right now. We're going to start producing beer that takes longer till it's ready or needs more aging, just in case this lasts longer. But when it's released, we're going to have all these products available. And the brewery, the brewers are so excited that they're still working, right? And the minute this happened, just because my family's in the medical field, right? We are able to order like drums of pure, like 99.9% pure isopropyl alcohol. And sometime next week, we should have the remainder of the ingredients. And so we're actually able to we're going to be making hand sanitizer, and we're actually using the hop oils to flavor it. So you're going to have hand sanitizer that's going to smell like an IPA.
I love it.
So, yeah. So we want to have fun, right? Be like, if you're going to sanitize your hands, you like craft beer, guess what? You're going to have craft beer scented hand sanitizer.
I love that. That's awesome.
I was waiting to let it out, but you just because I was so excited to tell somebody, and I just got a head brewer that says, because we were waiting, this is called carbapol, which is like a natural gelling powder that they use in cosmetics. That was the only ingredient we're missing, and we're getting it in next week. So yeah, I mean, so you think about it, we're changing and changing and changing, and obviously cash flow is a major issue for us. But at the same time, there is some government relief coming.
Yes.
And we just, I'm between you and I'm actually shocked at the number of businesses that threw in the towel the day one in our community. These businesses are businesses that tell the community how the community focused they are.
Yeah.
But they didn't even make an effort. They didn't even make an effort. They laid off the staff. They rolled up their sleeves and walked away. I thought to myself, what?
Shocked by that.
Yeah. What did they do with all their inventory? Would they just throw it away? And I just thought to myself, I said, you know what? The thing is, I always told my business partner, the proof is always in the ones that keep fighting and keep pushing forward, because it's like the turtle and the hare scenario.
Absolutely.
You can market and market and market, as you know, with marketing, but at the same time, the grassroots projects and being true to who you really are in hospitality. The reason I'm in this business is because it gives me joy to see people happy when they eat, right? It gives me joy. And it's tough to not see people eat, but it gives me a lot of joy when I get a posting that says, 49 State Brewery, this was an awesome meal. Thanks for delivering it. Really appreciate that. And I'm like, man, that's great. And the staff loves it, because the people that are out there, you got to remember, they're cooking to an empty restaurant, right? And if they're in businesses that are not used to delivery, it's a whole different mentality when you walk into work and there's nobody here.
Yeah, you don't have that feeling.
So, no, and when you're in a business of instant gratification, which is what we're in, you get feedback right away. Today, getting feedback through social media, positive, is great, but you see things online like, oh, somebody didn't give my ketchup packet, or my food wasn't as hot as I thought it was going to be. We're dealing with cold weather.
Come on.
Delivering all over the city, right? So, but we're evolving. We're definitely evolving quicker than that. So, but yeah, I think it's for you guys. It's definitely, I can see why you're going to be booming. There's a lot of people that weren't positioned on this,
Yeah.
But now, I'm looking at other businesses, and people are smart. If you're not helping be part of the solution,
that's right.
The new norm is there's going to be an autocorrect. That's the way I feel.
Well, and I mean, I have to go to my next meeting, but back to the last point of like people who just kind of like gave up. I think some of the people really surprised, especially who it was. But I don't know if you follow Mark Cuban at all, but he's been putting out some really great stuff about like what you do now and what businesses are doing now. Like, you don't even understand the repercussions of what this is like. If you can just get through this and survive, and you can do it ethically, and you can help other people as best you can, at least your staff, the repercussions on the positive are going to be amazing, and the repercussions on the negative for people that didn't do that. Like that will be remembered for sure. So
I agree 110%. I hope it does, but and nothing more. It makes me feel good to help. And there was this little quote, or there's this quote that I was reading in Inc. magazine, right? And it says, right now, it seems like we're all reacting to the outside world. And it says, basically, it says you need to start making decisions and take control of your environment instead of letting it control you. And if you want to know any advice, that was the greatest thing I read. And to me, that's the advice, is start taking control of your environment and stop blaming it on closures and everything else like that. Like I tell people every day in our business, if we're slow, there's something we didn't do correct, right?
Right.
And that means we need to rethink about it. It's not the mayor. It's not this. I mean, there's so many things that are out of our control, but there's things out of our control on a daily basis.
All the time. Right. So
and we got to evolve. We got to evolve. So I hope that we can make it through, and I hope we see each other on the other side of a table someday. In our business. So that's what I'm praying, that we can make it back and make it through this. But all I can say is if something happens and if we don't make it through as a business, it wasn't because I didn't try.